Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at building transactions, as it's going to play a pivotal role when it comes to minting tokens or any kind of advanced transactions currently. If you're just joining us, I suggest you watch the previous video, as that's where we set up our key pairs and public address. You're going to need that to basically continue on with this part of the tutorial and in order for it to work, basically. So let's get on with it. All right, well, first things first, we want to export our network parameters. And if you've downloaded the PDF, it should be down under building a transaction and copying and pasting just what I wrote in here. As you know, if you're using a testnet, then you change that to mainnet, then you change it to mainnet arbitrarily depending on what network you're using. Yeah, and also I'm also going to create a new item, which is a notes.txt, as I want to store all my variables, as we're going to be using those to pass things around when building a transaction. It's also just going to make things a lot more cleaner, in my opinion. So type dash file. No, okay, I can't remember how to write stuff. Help. Oh, I just need to get rid of the dash. Nice, okay. See, I don't even know what I'm doing. And it's just a matter of opening code and then notes.txt. And then it's open. And lo and behold, I'm just going to save that. We have a little text file. And if you can remember that we paired into our UTXO, into our output payment address that we had, you can see that it has all these different sort of values here. One being a transaction hash, transaction index, and the amount that's in that unspent output. And if you watch the unspent output video that I did before, then this will become a little bit more clearer, as you know, the unspent output literally is in the name UTXO. So yeah, I'm just going to copy some boilerplate actually, as most of the stuff is still going to remain the same. So I'm just going to basically copy this over and just replace the values in here. You can do the exact same thing. Just making sure I'm checking the index is the same. It is. Great. Taking the amount, pasting that in there. Awesome. And the address, I'm just going to leave that as the address is mine, but you might have to change that because I don't want your testnet data. So don't give it to me. Yeah, so just go into your data list wallet, copy the address there. I'm only doing this to demonstrate a basic transaction. It's just to show you how this stuff works and how I've learned and how I come about it. I mean, there are people out there who know this stuff way better than me, but I'm only telling you what I know from a beginner to a beginner. Yeah, so leave everything blank. It's just the only thing we need to change is just the first three variables here. And then we're going to scroll on down and copy this other build transaction boilerplate and copy that. And as you can see, we're taking our output and feeding that into our input here, which is our transaction hash ID. And that basically contains, again, the amount that we have in that unspent output and the index for it to feed through. So, and then when we do a transaction out, make sure to delete that space because that's going to cause it problems. We are basically taking our address and then basically running a simple expression, which is basically saying the Lovelace, i.e. being 10 million Lovelace or 10 ADA, and then subtracting the fee. But we don't have a fee calculated yet, as it's set to 0. So, but we basically want the file, the out file, which is our metric, mathematics.raw, as we're going to need to use that to calculate a fee based on the unspent output that we have. So go ahead, take that, copy it, paste it, boom, and you should have something like this that barfs at you. I'm only kidding. What's going on here? Oh, right. I didn't actually put the environment variables in. I'm an idiot. Yeah, make sure to run those in there. Make sure to just copy these. Sweet. Now I can run that other address. Rebuild it. Sweet. Should build. Awesome. Now we take this calculation fee Leave everything to default because we've only basically got one input and one output. I mean, if you're doing two outputs or two inputs, you change them accordingly. If you're doing multi-sig stuff, you would obviously use a multi-sig script instead of just the witness count to 1. But we're not doing that. Simple as transaction, all right? It's simple. And I'm going to rebuild the environment fee as we need to build this fee back into the transaction that we just built before. So again, run the environment variable fee. Yep. And paste our calculated number. And then just rebuild the fee again. I mean the transaction, sorry. Yeah. Awesome. Nothing baffed. This thing can be incredibly finicky, as is clearly demonstrated. Now onto the part where we actually send it. Now it's a matter of signing it. Make sure you have your private keys and your signing key. You're going to make sure you have that. And this is basically saying this transaction is coming from me. I'm the one who signed it. I'm not a fraud. Press enter. It worked. And now, lo and behold, the most painful part of doing anything is actually submitting it. Oh, it worked. Great. Wonderful. It normally fires error messages back at me, but in this case it didn't. So just the simple process of that, it's yeah, it's really that easy. And if you can tell, if we look back into our query command that we've run previously before, you can tell that we don't have any unspent outputs anymore. It's empty. And if we pop all over to back into our Daedalus wallet, you can see that the ADA that was received has now shown up in our wallet. Cool, huh? Yeah. That was just an example of consuming one output and then sending it to another address. We could have basically, if we wanted to, we could have created two outputs and send something back as change if we wanted to. So we could have split the output, the input, and created two new outputs, which were new inputs, one being 5 and the other being 5 back to send as change. But, you know, as just a demonstrating of how these transactions work, it's always good to know the rundown. So yeah, once you've got that in our heads, now it's a matter of just minting tokens, which is what you all came here for. It's what I came here for, minting them through the CLI. Yeah, so I'll see you in that next video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment down to critique, and I'll catch you up in the next one.